I hate the movie, and yet
Okay.
I love the movie.
It ends the reboot and in a satisfying way because we actually had a decent movie to lead up to that point.
To me, the main negative was I did think it was just a little bit overlong.
For me, I guess it's got to be a thumbs down.
What are they all talking about? The 2021 James Bond movie, No Time to Die. This movie ended with something unthinkable, James Bond's death. Was it the bold ending the franchise needed, or a betrayal of everything 007 stands for? Today, we have some of the biggest James Bond fans in the world to talk with us about this very thing. You just got a taste of what they think? Keep listening to hear the rest. Today, we welcome Morgan Lindsay from Canada, Pietro Rossi from the UK, Bill Kanas, and Stuart Bassinger from the US. All right.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Going. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So let's start off by looking at your opinion of the entire movie, No Time to Die, as a whole, not just the ending. Thumbs up or thumbs down on the movie as a whole? Hey, Bill, what do you think?
Well, overall, it's my favorite film of the Craig era. I was never a fan of rebooting the series. And not that killing, Bond was the way to do it, but it ends the reboot and in a satisfying way because we actually had a decent movie to lead up to that point. I thought Craig was fantastic. I thought the supporting cast was great. Ray Fiennes and Naomi Harris and Ben Whishaw. Alea Seydoux, she was continued as the only leading Bond girl to return for a second film. The score was excellent. David Arnold, for me, is Barry's true successor. But Hans Zimmer did a really good job with it. And I know some people didn't like the song. I actually liked the song. I thought it was decent. And I would say after Adele's, Skyfall is my favorite song of the Craig films. Of course, we have the best moment in the entire Craig era is the scenes with Paloma, which was, which were fantastic. So.
Yeah, I think we all agree there. Paloma was the breath of fresh air in that movie, I think. She was great. She was terrific. Morgan?
For me, I guess it's got to be a thumbs down. There were certainly some good portions throughout the film, but I just didn't buy the nanobot stuff and the bionic eye issue. How does he get a bionic eye while he's in Belmarsh prison, right? And what's he using for Wi-Fi? And it just, some of these things weren't explained. And the Paloma scene was great, but not long enough. And he's retired, right? 5 years, and he comes out of retirement, and he's an expert pistol marksman once again. Remember in Skyfall when he had to recover and he couldn't shoot after his injury, and that was only 3 months. Yeah, so I got to say thumbs down, of course, the ending.
Okay. All right, Pietro, how about you?
If I start with the negative first and the positive, to me, the main negative was I did think it was just a little bit overlong. That's the negative, so that's why I thought I'd just get it out of the way. I actually thought it was a good movie and it was well structured. I do agree with the plot holes Morgan said, but you can say that about pretty much any Bond film. You can say that about any film, really, if you really boil it down. I just thought it was a good mishmash of the books, You Only Live Twice, and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because you had things like the Garden of Death, you had this virus, virus Omega in On Her Majesty's, and you had the nanobots. You had Bond falling in love and making a commitment to the daughter of a gangster, if you remember Mr. White. You had, the death at the end. And we'll just leave it there for now. So I thought it was a good mishmash of those two books. Overall, visually, Paloma stole the scene. That whole Cuba bit was the standout.
Yes, absolutely.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie overall.
All right, Stuart, what do you think?
Oh boy. You said thumbs up, thumbs down. Is there a thumb in the middle somewhere?
Yeah, you could
Um,
put a thumbs in the middle.
I hate the movie, and yet
Okay.
I love the movie.
Okay.
I love the movie for its cinematography and some of its direction. Some of the acting is very well done, but I hate the movie. Um, a lot of problems where Safin's hideout at the end. I mean, the movie it falls apart towards the end. It seems incomplete, and just like Safin's hideout, it's incomplete and still has plastic wrap around it. Safin is identified as Doctor at one point, and some speculate this may have been like Doctor No. Personally, I think it was a carryover from the original title that leaked out when Spectre was mentioned, and that was the next movie was going to be titled Shatterhand,
Right.
which means Dr. Shatterhand. But they didn't go that direction. They changed a lot of things. Um, I don't want to get too far ahead here. Other
Yeah,
than
yeah,
that, I mean, there's a lot I want to talk about the ending and my personal feeling of why it came to that. But I feel bottom line is that Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, especially now that Amazon is in control, this was their last film, no matter what.
yeah. Okay.
In the background, they're like thinking, how are we going to explain to everyone that we're done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Michael was silent the most because he's like thinking, hold off, we're going to wait for Jeff Bezos to offer us a lot of money and then we're going to be out. And I think that's what really happened.
Yeah.
I think Barbara was concerned as to, because she's always been the protector of the series after Dad died, and she
Yeah.
was, didn't want to mess it up, whatever. But on the same token, I think she's burned out. She doesn't have any heirs that really want to take over because they themselves have, want to do something with their lives. So it's like, what do you do now? We've done 25 movies. I think originally they wanted to end after Skyfall.
Yeah. Okay.
You look at Skyfall, the song itself, this is the end.
Yeah.
And then we get to Spectre and we have the writing is on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, No Time to Die. Well, we're just going to kill off everybody. I mean, we paid how much money for Blofeld and Spectre, and
Yeah.
we wiped them out completely in the next movie.
Yeah.
Felix Leiter is killed off. I mean, when Felix was killed off in the movie, I knew that Bond was going to die at the end.
It was over. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
it. I actually felt that before the movie went into production because there was so many things that they were not telling us. They were keeping us in the dark. The movie wasn't starting yet. They weren't sure what we were going to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, what's going on here? And now, when I look back on it in hindsight, I really do think that they were done. And I
Yeah.
mean, even Michael G. Wilson, after Skyfall came out, he was asked a question, so what do you plan to do for the next movie? And he just sat there in front of an audience in this Q&A and he said, we don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know. And I think even Michael was at that point saying, I'm done. He's now in his 80s now. He's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
We're out of here. And of course, Hollywood has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood is completely corporate run now, and
Oh, yeah.
I mean George Lucas led the charge by basically saying, "Hey, here's Star Wars. Give me $4 billion. I'm done." And sure, here it is. Disney forks it over. Disney forks over money for Marvel. And we got control
Yeah.
of that. But basically, do they have good movies coming from them? No.
Yeah.
We really don't have anything decent. I mean, this past summer, Mission Impossible and Superman, two big movies I was hoping for, and two movies that are not, hitting the bar, but kind of below it, but not too bad. I mean, they're entertaining, but man, we used to get a bucket full of movies during the summertime, and you're like, you
That's
couldn't
true.
wait to see the next one. Think back in 1977, think back 1989, some great movies during the summer. And
Yeah.
now, we just don't have them. I mean, George Lucas is not making movies anymore. Steven
Mhm.
Spielberg is 80 this year.
Wow.
I mean, it's
Okay.
like It's done, folks. I mean, I love Christopher Nolan, and there's other filmmakers out there, but basically, the movies that we love to see during the 1970s and 80s into the 90s, that's all passé. Now people are just like, hey, I'll wait for to watch it on streaming or something like that.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And
And
this
I'm
whole
getting
corporate
off target here, but yeah, I'm putting my thumb in the middle, so to speak. But I'm not a
Yeah,
big fan of the movie.
yeah,
My favorite Craig Bond movie is because of No Time to Die. It has now gone straight to Casino Royale. It is probably the most faithful of the Fleming
yes,
novels since On Her Majesty's Secret Service and maybe For Your Eyes Only. But basically, that Casino
that was one.
Royale was like the punch we needed. And I couldn't wait for the next movie. And then when we got Quantum of Solace, I thought, we threw out the whole short story. We didn't even bother to even use that.
Yeah,
And yet they could have. But we have a movie that is a mishmash of quick edits, and we just don't know what we're doing. And we find out they had all kinds of problems with it.
sure.
We get the Skyfall, bam, they hit it out in the ballpark. It's $1 billion hit. Oh, wonderful. Can't wait for the next one. Spectre. Oh, wow, we got Spectre. We got Blofeld. We're going to. Blofeld's who? He's the stepbrother.
He's my cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, my God.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to forgive them
And then
for
we get to
that.
No Time to Die, and we're like going,
Yeah.
Safin is the villain, but he's really the hero. What?
Yeah.
And what's
And
the
you were
common
saying-
thread in all of this? Purvis and Wade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm
I'm
jumping
waiting for
ahead.
that.
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but I
Yeah.
got lots. I got a list here of things I want to discuss. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. And like you're saying, the corporate takeover of Hollywood too. I think that's the concern with Amazon now taking over Bond. It's content for them, and if the content doesn't produce money, hey, they'd be happy to just dump it and say, okay, well, on to the next thing. That's the worry, I think. But go ahead, Tom.
Okay, so I've got one question because as we start this, when is the last time, unless you watched it just before this discussion, when's the last time you actually watched this movie?
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. No, I saw it 4 times in the theater and maybe once on the telly, but it's got to be at least a year, I guess, or something like that. And I just can't bring myself to watch it again because I know what's going to happen, and just the controversy around it, and I just don't want to see James Bond die. I'm sorry, that's not what Bond has been about.
All right.
That is not what the Bond series is all about.
Yeah.
And ever since Barbara agreed to kill the character, per Daniel's request, after Casino Royale, the success, you can see, with Quantum of Solace, that was, okay, that was Casino Royale Part 2, and they had to finish off the character. They had to finish rebooting Bond, and they do that at the end of Quantum of Solace. Beautiful. You got the gun barrel sequence. I never left. So Algerian Love Knot. Beautiful. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And then with Skyfall, they jump to Bond being the old dog, new tricks. Huh? What? Where's the in between? This is a new Bond. You've rebooted the series. Right? Let's go, right? And
there is no prime Bond.
It's part of their master plan. Barbara realized, and so did Michael, that, hey, we can't do this forever. So let's start to build his demise. And that started with Skyfall. And then we all know what happened after that.
Yeah.
Just, I'm going out of turn here, but okay, yeah, just a couple of things. One, I last saw it probably about a few months after its release. After it came out, it was maybe January, February of 22. That's the last time I saw it.
Okay.
Although I did listen to the score as I was here at work today before coming on today. But I know the story is that they had planned from the beginning, I guess, after the premiere of Casino Royale, when Craig told Barbara Broccoli he wanted to kill Bond off, and she agreed. But that may be retroactive storytelling, because when Spectre ended, that was pretty much the end. I mean, I think they brought Craig back because they gave him a buttload of money to come back. But I think maybe at that point they actually hadn't planned necessarily continuing with him. And that, I mean, in and of itself, I think would have been a far happier ending for the Craig era than what we wind up getting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last time I saw the film was earlier this year. As I say, it's the running time that puts me off sticking it in and sticking it on. You see, I don't mind 3 hour films. I love Gandhi, I love the Godfather trilogies, I love Ben-Hur. So I can sit for a 3 hour film. But it's got to, but if you're going to ask me to spend 3 hours, you've got to give me that bit more, which I don't think No Time to Die does. And from my point of view, I kind of agree with what's been said here, in that I think Daniel Craig is the only Bond that has actually had a story arc. Leaving aside George Lazenby, he only did one. The others, they were pretty much all standalone films, weren't they?
Yeah.
Whereas, and here you needed an ending to this story. And the ending was either going to be Bond going off into the sunset, which they did in Spectre, which is, I think, was Bill said would have been a better ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree with you on that, by the way. Or him, and they couldn't do him retiring because he started to film off retired. So what was left?
Yeah, that's true.
Stuart, when's the last time you saw?
You've all heard of Calvin Dyson, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I came across his little review of No Time to Die earlier this week. And so I just started watching it. Next thing I know is I watched the whole thing. It was over 2 hours long. It was hilarious. I mean, but he was pointing out some things that I didn't see before. And I thought, that's interesting. So I did watch the movie again last night to refresh my memory. But I had seen it off and on for, during the year, within the last year and a half. I agree with a lot of things that you all are saying when it comes to certain things about it. That being too long, of course, is one of them, and of course the final part, you're like, give me a little bit more. I forget who said this, but the ending has Bond taking the little doo-doo doll,
Yes,
and putting it in his belt. And you're like, okay, we've seen that before at the beginning of the movie with young Madeline in bed when her mother's saying, come to me, and she has the doll on the bed. If you don't see it, you'll miss it.
mm-hmm.
Calvin pointed it out when I watched it. I've seen the movie many times and I never caught it, but it's sitting on the corner of the bed. And this is I blame the director on this one. That should have been noticed at one point. So that way we get the connection that Madeline gave her doo-doo to her daughter years later. Instead, we just find out that she walks around with this little doll. So, okay, whatever. And then, of course, she drops it and Bond finds it. And what it would have been great, as one person pointed out, at the end, we could even do a Marvel ending where we have a scene right after the credits. And it could be a room, it could be on board a boat. I don't care. It could have been anywhere, but all you see is a table, and on the table is the doo-doo. Leaving us to wonder, did Bond escape? And that to me would have been a better ending.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted you to think Bond escaped. I think they wanted you to believe he's gone.
Because Daniel wanted him gone.
I know. I don't think it was always that way, though. I think they were working something in there.
Yeah.
There's a couple things in the movie that lead up to that, but on the same token, I think to some degree, I blame Barbara Broccoli for the entire death. By the way, I think this story that Daniel Craig said during Casino Royale that I want Bond to die in the end. I don't believe that. I don't believe an actor who is under scrutiny from fans and is ready to have his head knocked off is going to come out and say, well, when I do this series in the end, I want to die. That is something you don't want to be saying.
It's interesting because everyone believes he did that.
I think it's made up. more
Didn't
or
he even
less.
he even said something like,
Yeah, he
"Oh,
said
my
that.
ego is so big or something. I didn't want anybody to do this after me or something." Did he say something
Well,
like? I thought he said.
whatever the case may be, it may have come later, but it certainly wasn't in the first movie. I don't believe that. I
Okay.
think also Barbara was looking for an out. I
Yeah.
think that she's ashamed of ruining her father's legacy, but she was looking for an out, and now Daniel is her out. So we have literally, oh, let's see, I got some notes here. She was very overprotective of her father and all the attacks that he endured during those years of making the movies. She leaned heavily on her brother Michael for legal and moral support. But Michael's in his 80s and is definitely slowing down. Both of them want to pass this on to the next generation, but the next generation, Greg Wilson and her daughter, Angelica Zello, are probably not ready. They're very young. And there's a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, these movies literally, you need an army to make these things.
Yeah.
And there's multiple second, third units filming all over the world.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
when you throw this at a family generation that is okay, we're gonna keep it in the family. You guys are next. You're up. You go ahead and do it. And they're like going, where do we start? Sure, there are people that have been working with the Broccoli's for generations, and their kids are now working with them. But we have these movies are now up to $2 to $3 million to make,
100 millions.
and that's
100
a lot. I
million.
mean, when you think of
100 millions. You said
Spectre,
2, 3 million.
well, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
300 million. That's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
meant.
Yeah.
Spectre's car chase in Rome alone was $40 million.
Wow.
And that's $10 million more than the entire movie Moonraker.
Right.
So when you think
Yeah.
about that and the stress that goes into this, and
Yeah.
and of course Barbara had to deal with the shenanigans that happened with some of the crew in Mexico during Spectre, and how things were
Hmm.
irresponsible, and she had to step in like the matriarch of the family, saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, stop this." But I really think that they just want to just walk away. Give us some money, we'll walk away. And Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos is like going, good, now it's mine. I can do what I want. And of course, he's got the deep pockets to do what he
Yeah.
wants.
He was willing to throw a little bit extra just to literally get them out of the way.
So that brings me to my next part of this question, and that is, where do we take Bond? And my question is that will Bezos try to figure out how Bond survived, or do we just start over again? And
Well,
my concern
we'll,
is starting over because that means Bond
we'll
is
talk about
dead.
that. We'll talk about that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a crazy situation that we think, and it sounds like Barbara and Michael just said, this is it. We're done.
Hmm.
And what better way to go? We killed them off. Whoever wants to worry about that later, let them worry about it. We won't. But I mean, the problem, I think, for a lot of Bond fans, Bond dying felt like a betrayal of the whole
Hmm.
fantasy that we all grew up with, right? It's a franchise that was built on survival, on wit, on his brilliance, his resilience, and we all felt, many felt it shouldn't end in self-sacrifice. I mean, he got out of everything before, and others are saying, hey, this is the first time Bond felt real and whatever, and it's it's okay. But it was tough for everybody. When you were in the theater the first time you saw it, it was absolute silence, wasn't it? When that
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolute silence. Like no one could believe you would do this.
Can
So
you
let's
imagine?
get.
Can you imagine if you were a father bringing your son to see a James Bond movie for the first time and saying to your son, "Oh, I grew up with these movies and everything. I can't wait to show you this movie. You're going to love it." And this kid watches James Bond die at the
Yeah.
end.
Um, can I say
Well,
something
Yeah, yeah.
that is not normally people not normally think, but I actually think that James Bond has never been braver than at the end of No Time to Die,
Sure.
and because the thing is he's been infected with this virus, with these nanobots. He knows he can't touch Madeline or Mathilde. If he touches them, they're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gut wrenching for him, knowing that he's got to look at these people who he loves and can't touch them or anything. And remembering the whole COVID period as well in the background, that must have, that you couldn't hug people and everything. So, and then also, how far does that go? I mean, can he give a handshake to Q, for instance, because he's a friend? I don't quite know. So if you look at his face, he doesn't make any attempt to escape the missiles.
Right.
He just commits suicide.
Yes.
For the love of Madeline and Mathilde. And for that reason, and I know I am in a minority of one on this, I've said this in a pub with a few other Bond fans, and they've all said I'm talking rubbish here, but I do think it's probably, in many ways, the bravest that Bond has ever been at the end of No Time to Die.
Well, absolutely. I don't think there's any question about that. When you're willing to sacrifice your life for someone else, I don't think there's anything else. You can't be any braver than that. So, I mean, I think a lot of people would agree with that, Pietro. I mean, why not? But the question is, should that have happened? That's what we're going to talk about. Should that, I mean, the controversy, I mean, it's a split between the old school Bond escapism kind of thing where, hey, this is why we go see a Bond movie, to escape, and then this whole modern character drama thing where, we got to do something big here we've never done before. That's the controversy, and I think this is good. This is good talking about it because you see a lot of different angles here. That's good. All right.
Yeah, Morgan, you were going to jump in there?
Yeah, I was just thinking, Bond being brave and sacrificial and all that stuff. Well, here's a guy who's retired for 5 years. So he's done with the service anyway. He can't stand them. He's always arguing with him. He can't stand being employed and all that stuff. He hates it, really. So he retires at the end of Spectre. And now he comes out of retirement, right? And, he's got to deal with all the shit because nobody else, and MI6 is so stupid to lose that nanobot technology. Anyway. But yeah, it is brave for him to sacrifice himself. But at this stage of the game, he's done anyway. And he's satisfied that he has left something behind, right? A child. He's left something behind. He's finally achieved some normality to his life. And he doesn't need to go on anyway, right? And of course, he's infected, right? So, yeah, it is brave for him and all that stuff. It's very touching and all that stuff. But really, they didn't need to do that direction. All the previous Bond films, Bond's been courageous because he's the one who's resolved it at the end, right? He's gone and saved the woman. He's done all the stuff. That's courage too, right? So yeah, it is touching. It's very emotional and all that stuff. But it has no place in a James Bond film. All the books, no death. All the previous movies, no death. He's our hero. We do not write Bond. We do not schedule films to end with Bond being killed. That doesn't happen. That was a decision that Barbara and Michael made as their escape from the series. Period. And that to me, you may not agree with this, that to me is a very selfish thing to do to the Bond tradition and Bond history, to plan your escape from dealing with it. They could have just kept making proper films like we've seen in the past and handed it over at the end of the day if they wanted to retire. If their family members didn't want to get involved, fair enough, fine. It is a good process to make a film. But just leave Bond in good hands. Don't leave him dead so that you make it very difficult for the next people who take over to come up with an idea now. What are you going to do? Bond is dead.
And here's what Barbara Broccoli said about this, right? We wanted to show that even Bond can make the ultimate sacrifice because that's what heroes do. So that was her quote. And so this is what we're talking about now. Who's making the ultimate sacrifice? The fans for Bond, the fans of Bond, or Bond? I understand exactly what we're saying here. There is nothing bigger than giving up your life for someone else. That is it.
I have
Whether
to
it should have happened or not, which is what Morgan is just saying. Uh, that's the question here. And is there any justification for killing off Bond in a movie, and especially this last one where they're selling off everything? I mean, is there any justification for that? I mean, this was our escape. This was our escape. This was what Bond was. It was all this fantasy stuff. And now, no time to die. It was time for everybody to die. Yeah, kill everybody. Kill Spectre. Kill.
But doesn't that make the next films more exciting, knowing that Bond can die? You know, like I always remember when Moonraker came out,
Mm-hmm.
and Jaws pushes Bond out of the aeroplane without a parachute. These were the trailers that were on television.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen the film, I hadn't gone to the cinema to watch it, but I never believed for a second that Bond was going to die.
Right.
I didn't know how he was going to get out of that, but I never believed he was going to die. I haven't got that belief in any other film going forwards. You know, if they were to remake Moonraker and have Jaws push the new Bond out of the aeroplane, I don't know if that is the last scene of the film anymore. So doesn't that make the jeopardy heighten it and make it more exciting that you don't know that you haven't got that reassuring, well, you're Bond, you're safe anymore?
Well, here's the thing, all right. With respect to that, I don't think they could do that again. Now that Bond has been killed once, if it comes back, I don't think then what's the point? I mean, the fact is the Craig films, they're their own self-contained entity of five films. So killing Bond off at the end of this reboot was I know it was controversial, and ultimately I don't agree with killing him off as a concept, but it does put a cap on these five films. Now, in terms of commercial, for bringing younger audiences into a film, if I was 12 years old and I saw this film, I would have been devastated. I mean, so, and I mean, Moonraker was the first Bond film I saw in the big screen. I absolutely loved it. I was 11 when I saw it, and if you want the series to continue, you need to attract younger viewers to it. So to then have a film where they're going to kill Bond off again, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, but killing him off here, I mean,
Right.
this obviously this is a huge thing. If this is one of the first Bond movies you've watched, you think, well, he's dead. And there's the concept of now the end game. The end game is he's dead. He didn't survive this. He didn't retire. He's not having a happy life. He's dead. Bond is dead. And this whole Daniel Craig arc thing, my question here in this discussion is there a James Bond arc, or do we have a Daniel Craig arc? And if we have a Daniel Craig arc, why do we have a Daniel Craig arc instead of a James Bond arc? I don't care that he got his 00 status from his first movie. He got old, he retired, he came out of retirement, and he died, all in his 5 movies. I never got the Daniel Craig arc. I'm a James Bond arc guy. What do you guys think?
I don't think they were thinking that far ahead. I mean, when they finally got Casino Royale, they wanted to do it. They knew that they couldn't do it with Pierce, so they knew they had to reboot. Barbara got her choice of actor that she wanted, and as soon as Casino Royale was done and everybody was like ecstatic by it, she said, "Okay, what do we do now? I don't know." And I don't know who came up with the idea of using quantum, but I mean, that came along. But we were the whole arc thing. Yeah, you're right. It's a Daniel Craig arc. It's not a James Bond arc. It's not. What should I say? You basically got a lot of shoehorned stories as the movies progressed. Marvel was beginning back in 2008, and then they were like connecting the movies as they went. Bond saw that And of course, Bond used to be the one that everyone imitated. Now Bond was imitating everyone else.
There you
So,
go.
they're sitting there in their meetings and they're going, well, Marvel's really popular and they're making $1 billion per movie. Let's see what we can do. And then, of course, there was the idea of somewhere along the line, they hooked up with McClory's kids and said, hey, let's make a deal. And they agreed and they got Spectre. And we were all excited about that. But Quantum goes bye-bye. Quantum was the original idea was that there was not going to be an organization named Quantum. They made that up as they went. And then we figured, okay, Quantum's the new Spectre. Okay, that's good. We can go with that. And then 4 years later, we have Skyfall, and there's no Quantum. There's nothing. There's no Mr. White. What's going on here? And then we really find out that Bond is, like Morgan says, Bond is past his prime. There is no prime. We never saw Prime. We saw Bond as starting as an agent. He's still the beginning of an agent in Quantum. And then what we got? Let's just say 10 years that disappeared. And now Bond is a little bit more experienced, but he's let down by M. And he just basically thinks, I think I'm done with this. But then he comes back to fight again. And then Spectre. And then the stupid brother thing, and then of course we get to No Time to Die and we just kill everybody. I mean, it's
time for everyone to
it's
die.
ridiculous. Oh, and I want to go back a little bit, saying that Bond it was the bravest of all during the end of No Time to Die. I disagree. Nobody in their right mind is going to chase after an airplane on horseback to jump on the plane and hang on to the side of it trying to save Octopussy.
Right. But
You're going to go to the nearest phone and say, hey, get to this airport. They're landing there soon. Please arrest them.
right. But here's the thing. That Bond is a different Bond than the Craig Bond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that Bond is still alive, if you will.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've always said this to other people. I said, when I watch No Time to Die, what's the movie I go to the most and enjoy? The Man with the Golden Gun. Believe it or not, watch The Man with the Golden Gun after watching No Time to Die. It will be the most enjoyable time you've had watching that movie.
Very entertaining. Well, one scene, I just want to say this, in No Time to Die that I can't stand is when Safin has Matilda in front of him in his lair, and Bond is crouching down and all that stuff and yada yada. And then Bond decides to take a chance and shoot the guards behind Safin. Why would he risk an accidental killing of Matilda, who Safin's holding? Bond would never, ever do that. And I think at this time in the movie, he knows that that's pretty much his daughter. Anyway, why did they write that into the script? I was pissed off because Bond would never do that. He would never put a young girl in jeopardy, and he just pulls out these guns and he shoots right while he has it. He's been retired for 5 years. Well, you're going to take a chance. You might accidentally kill your daughter. Why?
I'll go back to 3 words, Morgan. Purvis and Wade.
Purvis and Wade.
Purvis and Wade.
I heard your podcasts, Tom.
I'm sorry.
He's absolutely right. Why would you do that? And he
this scene. Come on.
I do want to say one thing about that scene, though, Morgan. That scene actually looked great when I saw it in 3D. So it was actually well presented. Yeah, I get what you're saying about the plot point there.
The concept,
but from the cinematography perspective in 3D, that was a pretty cool scene because of the way they had those things that were behind Safin.
Yeah, they had it in 3D.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool to see that scene in 3D. But I agree with you about the plot point part of that scene.
Yeah.
So actually, I have a question. As this conversation's going on here, a question I've got here is, we talk about the fact that Craig's Bond was different, and I think Craig's Bond in No Time to Die was way different than Craig's Bond in the earlier movies. And I don't know, do you just attribute that to, oh, I'm a dad, or something else?
He doesn't know he's a dad until Safin tells him. Because up until then, I mean, Madeline even said she's not yours. He's wondering and questioning it.
Right.
But Safin says to Madeline when he's in her office, And he says, and she says, I don't have anybody close to me anymore. And he goes, oh, yes, you do. And we think it's James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
It's her daughter. And now he has the daughter, and he's telling James Bond, "This is your daughter," and he doesn't question it. He doesn't say, "Oh, I know it. I know it is," or "No, it isn't." He just accepts it. And yet, Morgan's correct. Why would you take the chance of shooting the two guards? If anything, I'm surprised he didn't shoot Safin right away, because Safin had a knife.
Especially since he's out of
could have done it right there.
touch with it, right? He hasn't been doing this for 5 years.
Right, and there's actually a deleted scene when they're down below and he's escaping with the daughter, and he actually takes a gun out and aims it at her. But they cut that out. Instead, she just walks off to look for her doo-doo. But there's some moments there that I question as to how they were going to try to do this ending. I mean, like I said, the whole ending is just all over the place at this point, and you don't understand the process of how they're making the virus. You don't understand, what's all that stuff down there in the water and the neon tubes, whatever. What's that? I don't know enough about medical stuff, but I mean, I kind of went, that kind of looks weird.
Yeah, and the thing that always got me too is the ultimate sacrifice he makes. Why not think science and technology got us into this jam? Maybe science and technology can get us out of this jam, isolate me while you're working on this, and hey, if you come up with an antidote, an antidote, not an anecdote.
We know what you mean.
Yeah, you come up with an antidote. Hey, let me have it, and I can get back together with my family.
Yeah, but you had already explained that there is no antidote. But I know what you're saying. Just because there isn't an antidote today doesn't mean there won't be one tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
I do know that is where you're going, but
yes.
you had already explained to Bond, and so to us, the audience, that this was it.
Yes, right. They wanted us to know it. And so they had to make, because they had to make this a nice package. They worked hard for 3 hours almost there to wrap everything up and throw everything in there they could possibly throw. Spectre's dead, Leiter's dead, Bond's dead, everybody's dead. And hey, there's no solution to this thing. That's why he's got to die. And we're telling you that straight out. Boom, that's it. But I'm thinking, hey, technology created this. Maybe it can undo it. But
Q says no.
Right. And as to that, you had the EMP watch. Why couldn't EMP destroy the nanobots? They're electronic, I mean,
that's what I thought he was going to do.
But maybe it goes back to the fact, again, development of the script. I think at one point it was just going to be a regular virus and not a computer generated virus or a computer created virus. And I guess because of COVID, that's why they changed that. They've been too close to home to have it otherwise.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a carryover from that. Even the scene which was never explained when they're in the Land Rover and Matilda is bitten by a mosquito. She's bitten by a mosquito, and it's like this weird moment,
right?
And it's never followed up on anywhere in the film. So,
and Moneypenny's expression when they're toasting to Bond, and she looks away and she kind of smirks, and you figure, what's with the smirk? What does that mean? Did she know something?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I'll look out for that.
Yeah. I never noticed the smirk. Yeah, there's a little smirk there, huh? Okay.
I'll look out for that.
Yeah.
I have to admit, when I saw it at the cinema, I was with my partner, and when they were doing the toast at the very end, we were sitting there and we were waiting for Henry Cavill to walk through the door as the new 007. We really would have, if we could have paused the film, we would have put money on that. We really would have done.
So generally, I mean, we could see that, okay, you have this arc for Craig, and so that was the only way to end it, because they trapped themselves. They kind of painted themselves in a corner with him and making him grow old in everything and within 5 movies and die. So it sounds like there's a lot of people who are fine with him dying. And there have been many people on our Facebook group, and we have like 6,000 in the private group now or something. And some of them were saying, yeah, I hope he's dead. I hope he stays dead. And I hope they never bring back another one. It was good he died. It's over. So there are people who think that, hey, good, he's dead. And there are other people who are in between. And there are people like me. I think that was a bad idea. Morgan thinks it's a bad idea. I think most of us are starting to think it wasn't a good idea. But because now they're in a corner again. Now you could reboot this thing again, but you've already told us Bond is dead. So now you're going to go back because Bond's future, his only future, when this first happened, I walked out of the theater, I said, Bond will return. Bond's future has to be his past because he's dead. So we got to go back to maybe they're going to recruit him as from the Navy or whatever. What kind of corner have they painted themselves in? And I mean, they could be like, Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle just said, you know what? My fans are really pissed off that I killed off Bond in Reichenbach Falls. So I got to bring him back. And so, yeah, he didn't really fall over the falls. He fell on a ledge, whatever. I mean, in science fiction, the good thing about science fiction or fiction itself is you can do anything and make anything happen just by writing it. You don't have to really do it. You just write it and it's done. It's like, okay, he didn't fall off the cliff. He's back. You think they'd ever think of telling us he didn't die? Because they wanted to make it clear to us he died.
I just think, to me, and this goes back to your earlier question, to me, I see the Fleming books as a series, Dr. No, To Die Another Day as a series, Casino Royale, To No Time to Die as another series, Ray Benson as another, etc., etc., etc. And they're all different series. And it's a bit like you mentioning Sherlock Holmes earlier. It's like you don't automatically connect Jeremy Brett with Basil Rathbone or Robert Downey Jr. Right. And so why can't, especially now that Amazon is taking it over, creative control and everything, why does it have to all be connected? Like, for example, you don't, like David Corenswet, the new Superman, you don't link that film to the Christopher Reeve films, for instance. So why not just say this is a new series?
It could be a new series, right? But
or a reboot, if you like.
Yeah, but you mentioned all the Jeremy Brett and all these other guys, Basil Rathbone, who played Bond, and there's a 1954 TV series, which is terrific, actually, of Sherlock Holmes. You should check that one out. I forgot who's in it. I think it's Ronald Howard.
Yeah,
he's fantastic.
Oh, sorry, fantastic. Ron Howard was Happy Days.
Ronald Howard. Yeah. And it's terrific. But the mistake Conan Doyle made killing him, he rectified and unkilled them. And so we don't care if it's Basil Rathbone.
The author is still alive. The author is still alive to rectify the thing. Yes. Fleming's no longer alive, and of course, Eon Productions has gone ahead and did what they did. Now, I have a suggestion. And if there's anybody from Eon or Amazon who may watch your video later on, I hope they take my suggestion. There is a book called 007, the unofficial autobiography of James Bond, written by John
Pearson.
And I probably just messed up on that title, but forgive me. That's a great book. And it's basically taking James Bond as a real person. Mm-hmm. That Fleming wrote these books based on a real James Bond, but he did it to throw off the Russians during the Cold War. It's a great book. They could do something similar. Take that aside. And I even thought, bring Pierce Brosnan back to play an older James Bond. Yeah. And at the same time, introduce a younger James Bond.
Sure, they can do everything all at once.
At the end, where you have Pierce Brosnan walking off to this next assignment, and he's an older guy, and he says, "Like, I'm going to do this one more case," and he's off. But you have the younger Bond ready to take over. But it turns out to be Bond didn't die on that island in No Time to Die. He explains that, I was picked up and I was, just like he was blown away in Matera at the beginning of No Time to Die when Vesper's grave blows up. I mean, you look at that explosion, I don't know how he survived that one.
Yeah.
But here, he's dead at the end of this movie. Well, maybe not. What if he fell through a hole and maybe the ground opened up, whatever. There was an empty slot, whatever, that broke open. The whole island is all messed up as it is. So, I mean, it's very possible he could survive. I know a lot of people say, no, 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 he's dead. But
Right.
if you wanted to make this work, if you want to find some kind of closure to that and make a connection, that's what I would do. Go through that book, make a link, bring back Pierce Brosnan, give the Brosnan fans the movie, the final Brosnan movie that we all want, and a good script, because he had lousy scripts during his run. But
Yes, he
give
did.
him a good solid hit here. And then bring in your next Bond, your next actor. And then we continue. And that's how I would do it.
All right.
Oh, and
right,
one more thing. Like I said, the doo-doo falls in there too somewhere. But anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
My opinion is they should just start from the beginning for Bond in the Royal Navy, and then how he gets drafted into the Secret Service from there. Right? You've done Casino Royale, which was a proper reboot of the series.
Yeah.
You didn't have Brosnan die at the end of Die Another Day. Of course not. You don't kill Bond. Rule number one: you don't kill the goose that laid the golden egg. So you've rebooted beautifully with Casino Royale. That was fantastic because you had original Fleming material, and that was beautiful. It's my third favorite Bond film. Anyway, and then you buggered it up with the Ark. Now you've killed Bond. Bond is dead, and Bond is dead. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about that. And the way, and they tied Craig's Ark, having the Goldfinger car and Skyfall, they tied all that back to the other films. Anyway, Bond is dead. That is a fact. You must reboot. You must start again with a young actor. Okay, now what are you going to do? You can't do Casino Royale again because that's been done. Okay, fair enough. Let's go back a little bit further here. Let's put him in the Royal Navy. He's a young guy in the Royal Navy, yada, yada. You have some kind of storyline around that eventually leads him into the British Secret Service as an agent. Whether you have a whole mission, I don't know. I don't know what you do, right? Like I said, they've really painted themselves into a corner by killing the character. They've really made it difficult. But I don't think you just have, Bond is a young guy and he's a double agent and off we go. You don't do that. You have to start and rebuild this character from scratch. Give him all the characteristics he had that we love, and all that stuff. But you have to rebuild it. You have to start. So there's no novel. There's nothing. It's got to be an original screenplay. It's got to be from the Royal Navy. I don't think you can go back to his childhood when he was orphaned and his parents dying, because that's already kind of been explained, right? And people probably know that. Just put him in the Royal Navy and storyline along that way, and then he gets recruited into the Secret Service, and you go from there with a young actor in his early 30s that you can hire for 3 or 4 films and a new fresh face, and then we start again and we go along. That's the way they should do it, in my opinion.
Bill, you've been trying to get in here for a minute, so go ahead and jump in.
Well, okay. And those are all great ideas. I love bringing Pierce Brosnan back and adapting Pearson's autobiography. But I don't know if any of that is really necessary. As I said, the 5 Craig films are their own self-contained thing. They ignored the first 20 films with Casino Royale. There's no reason why they can't ignore the Craig films and pick up, not necessarily with Pierce back, because it might be kind of odd, but cast a younger Bond. You can recast M and Moneypenny, M and Q rather, say the originals, the others have retired. They can cast any ethnicity, any race, any sex to play those characters. So, and then I have Moneypenny there. Bond is Bond. I like Henry Cavill. That's my choice to play Bond, and just start from there. And you can even you can ignore the whole Blofeld nonsense they did with the Craig era, but you can bring Spectre back properly, And in the first film, somewhere put Felix Leiter in there to show everybody, yeah, he's still alive. And then off we go. I don't see why that would be a problem. And that's what people had expected before the Craig era. And make the films fun again. And I think that there's a lot to that.
Yeah, they were fun when they were individual missions. I thought
Right.
I thought that was good. You know, when they started connecting it with even Casino Royale, the Quantum, and so on, it's like, okay, you're going in a different direction there. The question is though, if Bond is dead, he remains dead, and like Morgan's saying, start over again. But I mean, you're never going to fear for his life in any of the movies you watch because well, he doesn't die until No Time to Die. So I'm not going to worry about him getting shot at or whatever because he's alive all the way through No Time to Die. I'm not going to worry. I'm not that interested anymore. What about that?
Well, see, I've got a question on that in terms of if you try to go back and ignore the Daniel Craig stuff, one of the things I liked in the older movies was every so often there would be a drop in about something that happened in the past.
Right.
Well, now we're in the situation, is it Madeline or is it Tracy? Right? So if you go back, which way do you take that? Because there was no acknowledgement of Tracy and they kind of said he hadn't been married before. And then it's like,
I see. Tracy, no question. Reference to that's fine.
That's the point I was saying. That I see Daniel Craig as his own era. It's his own story. He's different from the Connery to Brosnan Bond. Because there was no mention of Tracy. There was no mention of Felix Leiter being eaten by the shark in License to Kill as well. So there's loads of these things. And so where do you go forward?
Yeah, see, part of that I thought, okay, they're doing this. It's pre all that. It's pre Tracy. It's pre this. But then again, no, he's a 00 agent. He gets his 00 license, and he grows old and dies within 5 movies. So to me, that's like, I don't get it. I can't make sense of it. I can't buy it. I can't say, oh, that was a good idea. And like you're saying, Pietro, it's like its own little era. Well, it is. They all had their own. Roger Moore had his little Bond thing, but they were always Bond. I remember in For Your Eyes Only when he didn't want to kick the car off the cliff, Roger Moore, because I don't want to do that. I wouldn't do that. And the directors, everybody's saying Bond would do that. Bond would do that. You got to kick the car off the cliff, and boom, he kicks the car off the cliff because it was Bond. It wasn't Roger Moore. It wasn't. So I can't buy the Daniel Craig is separate. He's Bond. That's just me. I can't get over it.
It's like Craig dumping Mathis's body into the dumpster in Quantum.
Yeah,
that's not Bond. Would Bond do that?
Right.
Craig would.
Craig would. Well, I think Bond would because he's a cold-hearted bastard. Really, if you read the books and stuff, Bond is a tough guy. He's a tough guy. So I don't mind that. I love Daniel Craig as a Bond character. I thought he was very good. Casino Royale is one of the best top 5 movies ever made, I think, for Bond movies. That was a terrific movie. It's just the whole concept of his arc is something I could never get. I don't think I ever will get it. I don't buy it. I can't get over it.
Can I interject something real quick?
Yeah,
and it's a little slightly off topic a little bit, but it's the beginning of No Time to Die with the Aston Martin when the car's been hit and they stopped, the bells are ringing, Madeline's freaking out in the car, and Craig as Bond has basically accepted the fact that I'm going to die right here, and they're shooting the windows. I was watching that last night and for some reason, I started thinking, is there a hidden message in this somewhere? And I thought, what if every bullet that hits the windows of the car was representation of a lawsuit that Eon Production got? Think about it. How many times have they been sued over the years? So and then Primo comes over and he's by himself shooting directly. That's the Kevin McClory representation. And you notice it's on Madeline's side, similar to Tracy's side of the Aston Martin, trying to kill. And I started thinking, and then of course Bond finally just snaps out of it and goes, okay. And he revs the engine to the max, puts it into a fishtail, lets go of all the machine gun bullets that he can muster up and the smoke screen, and does, a perfect circle as he just takes out everybody in that courtyard. And I thought, I wonder if this is like saying, you know what, we're sick of this. We're just going to just shoot up the works and end it. Just my 2 cents worth. That's it.
Yeah. We talked to Chris Cornwall about that very scene. He was telling us how they did that. Chris Cornwall was terrific talking to him. We talked to him live in Chicago. It was great.
Wonderful scene.
It may be the best chase in the entire series.
Yeah. And when Tom and I did our first podcast on that one, before it even came out, when they were showing the clips and stuff, we saw the bell, and part of it was what we said in that podcast was, the bell could be the key giveaway here, and for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for the Bond. And then I was thinking right then and there in that podcast, thinking this guy could die because of the bell.
And another thing is that the director, twice in the movie, he has transitional car scenes, whatever. When they're in Cuba, you've got what's her name?
Paloma?
Yeah, she has taken over the car by knocking out the guy, but she's climbing in one side of the car, and then you see her on the other side of the car. The camera dollies from one side to the other. We see that same shot when Bond is getting his Aston Martin out of the garage, and then he's cleaning off the car, and then the camera comes over, and you see him getting into the car. It's an interesting little shot that I noticed last night. I didn't see it before. I went, hey, it's the same shot.
Good. Yeah, that's good. So we talked about the future. We talked about the past. We talked about whether it was good or not for Bond to die. And there's certainly interesting concepts there and so on. Any other final comments about whether this was a good idea for Bond to die or not, and what they should be doing in the future? Any final comments, anybody?
Bill, I'm going to start with you. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay, yeah. Well, in terms of whether it was a good idea to kill him or not, I mean, the Craig Bond is dead. I think that's pretty much been determined. So where we go in the future, I think we had a lot of good ideas here. I mean, I think it could actually work in two different ways. You have a new Bond film, and maybe bring Pierce Brosnan back in a streaming series for Amazon. Have him back, bring back Michelle Yeoh, bring back Halle Berry, and possibly even Judi Dench and John Cleese. I think, and of course Rachel Grant.
Judy would be tough because she's got some health concerns.
I know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we could have two. I mean, that would be odd because you have the film Bond versus a streaming Bond, but why not? So that's
all right.
Pietro,
I think it would have been harder if Eon had control, but now that we're in the new world with Amazon, I just think do a bit of a Dr. No, just reintroduce everyone and forget everything that's gone by and just start afresh in the same way that you introduced all the ingredients in Dr. No. Do the same in the next Bond film.
Okay. Morgan?
Yeah, I think they have to start fresh. I don't think you bring back Pierce Brosnan. You don't bring back Halle Berry. You don't bring back any of that stuff and put them into a new movie. The audiences are already confused with the Craig era. What's going on? Why did you kill him? What's going on here? Don't confuse the situation. What's done is done. Start fresh. Let's just rebuild this movie franchise from the ground up again. New face, everything new characters, new stories. It's going to be tough because there's no Fleming. I mean, well, there is Fleming material. They can dredge chapters and all the books and all stuff, but start from fresh and let's bury the past and let's continue from fresh.
Okay, Stuart.
I'm the opposite on that, and I still think you can hook it somehow or another, have Bond survive, but we have continuation novels. we have Jeff Bezos, which has deep pockets.
Yes.
Broccoli did not want to buy the continuation novels. He felt like I have the rights to make the movies. I can make up my own stories, which is fine. But now you have the continuation of novels that a lot of people would love to see, especially Raymond Benson.
Yes.
But
Yes.
basically, it would be fun to see some of the John Gardners. I would love to see Nobody Lives Forever done. Benson's novels. You've got Jeffrey Deaver. You got all this to pull from. So why not? Why not just go ahead and go that direction? Bond's a little older. That's okay. We'll just keep going. Nobody seems to care anyway, as long as the movies are kind of like isolated, one on, one off, and we're fine. But if we do another arc like we did with Craig, I think we might bury the entire series after that.
All right. That's good.
I'm gonna make one comment about the Amazon piece of that is after what they did with that advertising campaign, taking all the pictures of the guns out, and then they got such grief for it, they put them back.
Yeah.
I'm worried that they don't know the Bond audience.
Yeah.
And so where do we take that? That's my big concern going forward.
The producers, I can't remember now which way round, but one of them was in charge of Harry Potter and the other one was in charge of Spider-Man.
David
Heyman.
So, David Heyman was
David
Harry
Heyman
Potter.
and
Yeah,
Amy
I can't remember which way round. But the thing is, they know how to they know how to do a franchise.
Okay.
And that is reassuring for me.
Okay.
And Tom, just real quick though, with respect to what you said, they may not know the Bond audience now. Now they do. That they did those.
They learned fast, and they did take corrective action, so that was good.
Right.
All right, I think that's a wrap.
Excellent.
Thank you, Pietro, Morgan, Bill, and Stuart for joining us today. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
All right. All right, this has been Dan.
And Tom.
The Spy Movie Navigator.com and our show, Cracking the Code to Spy Movies. Subscribe to our show right now. We'll wait. All right. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.